Ecuador is a water-rich nation with 3 times the international average amount of fresh water per person. But incredibly, Quito, the capital city, is still at risk of experiencing severe water shortages by 2025. That's because, say water experts Nature Inc. has talked to, the authorities are neglecting one of its best assets, the Paramo. It's the name for the watershed on the slopes of the Andes, one of the most biodiverse places on Earth.
This is where the water of the Amazon is being born. Let us come inside of the highest rainforest we can find on Earth. Because of the high air humidity, mosses go very well. Those mosses as such catch in the mist and also retain it, and it passes through the cloak of mosses to the soil. Pull a little bit out and water peeks out of those mosses.
In effect, the Paramo is a giant 14,000 square kilometre natural sponge, 4 times bigger than the Catskills. It absorbs, then releases abundant clean water for free. It's the main source of water for the 2 million people in Quito. But Ecuador has a history of economic and political turbulence, and one of the fallouts has been a neglect of the watershed, with potentially disastrous consequences, according to the country's leading water NGO.
Everything we have done in the past few decades has not worked. The system of government over the watershed has been deficient. It's been weak and complicated.
27,000 people live on the Paramo in Ecuador, and their farming is damaging the watershed. And Quito's population is expanding fast, leaving it at risk of running short of water in 20 years. So the government is planning to build a giant dam instead of relying on the Paramo.
Quito has been doubling its population every 25 years. That means that in the next 25 years, we have to carry out many projects, just like in the past.
The dam would divert 28 rivers that help feed the Amazon and use them to supply Quito with water.
It will cost around $1.2 billion, which for a city and an economy like ours is a very large investment.
The dam is facing legal challenges from communities in the Amazon who fear it will reduce the flow to the Great River. But is such an expensive dam really necessary? The government itself estimates that up to 65% of Quito's water is wasted through leaks and mismanagement. According to the UN, that makes Quito the city with one of the highest per capita water uses in Latin America. To the conservation lobbyists, the answer is obvious. Use some of the money that would be spent on the Ríos Orientales dam on stopping the wastage and protecting the Paramo.
Instead of the Ríos Orientales with their environmental impact, we can also invest to make sure that the demand per capita decreases.
Some experts believe that if Quito reduced its water wastage, Ecuador could follow Catskills' model. It could compensate the 27,000 people living on the Paramo and guarantee a clean and cheaper water supply for Quito. Professor Felipe Cisneros is a water resources expert advising the Latin American equivalent of the World Bank.
Provided that we manage the preservation of the Paramo and reduce water wastage, it will be much cheaper to get nature itself to provide the flows we require rather than building large construction projects.
The International Union for Conservation of Nature is helping the government negotiate with the Paramo communities to pay the money in return for preserving it. And one business in Quito is already doing its bit for watershed conservation. This brewery has halved its water consumption and puts the money it saved on water bills towards preserving the Paramo.
By going from 8 to 4 cubic meters of water, we have reduced our water bill by 50%. And the fact that you make an effort to optimize the use of your resources is not just socially responsible, it's also excellent business.
Economists at the Gund Institute in Vermont in the USA estimate that the global value of ecosystems like the Paramo for providing water regulation and supply is $2.3 trillion.